Last time on 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors. I could have spent the whole episode watching you two make bedroom eyes at each other, even if you were doing it right next to Snake's corpse. No, you know what? In fact, come here, June. I don't even care. I want Snake to watch. Hello, denizens of the internet, and welcome back to 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors. When we last left off, we cleared the shower room and got a little bit of backstory for two of our characters, Junpei and June, which is a little bit of a rare treat. Usually we spend our time inside the numbered doors discussing more esoteric, I guess you would say, things like whether or not the Titanic sinking was predicted, or what the meaning of the four-leaf clover is, and weird random things like that. And the good news for anyone who's a fan of that sort of insight and exposition is that we should be getting a decent chunk more of that as we continue along with this story route. So let's go ahead and dive in and find out. Outside of the shower room was a hallway that extended off to the left and right.
There's a large iron door at the end.
Let's take a look.
They'd moved a few steps toward the door when Junpei heard the sound of metal on metal.
Huh?
They turned around. Seven was doing something to the door of the shower room.
What are you doing, Seven?
Well, I figure maybe we might want to come back here sometime. So, I stuck the broom in there to keep the door from shutting. Alright, let's go.
That's why you're the idea guy, Seven. See, that's a clever little thing to do right there. Not only will that allow us to circumvent using the reds to enter the room, preventing us from risking our lives, but that also means that we can go through without paying any mind to what combination of numbered bracelets we're using. Oh, and I guess more to the point, it'll let us prove our story about what happened to Snake. Although hopefully everybody's willing to take our word for it, because it's not really something you need to see if you can avoid it. With that, he stood up and began walking down the hallway. He brushed past Junpei and kept going. After a moment, the rest of them followed him. Before long, they found themselves at the large iron door. They had only been there for a moment when June spoke up.
Jumpy, look!
He turned. There, on the right side of the hallway, was a piece of paper attached to the wall. Our map for this deck. Actually, now that we've got that little bit of exposition with Seven out of the way, I wonder if I can skip forward, because we should have already seen this dialogue pretty much.
What's up?
Nope, won't let me go ahead yet.
What's that on the wall there?
Oh, I think it's...
I'll probably be able to use the fast forward once we get through reuniting with Lotus. That's going to be a unique scene. Junpei ran over and peeled it off.
A map of the ship's interior?
It says C deck.
So it's the map for this floor, then.
That's right, C deck. I couldn't remember where we were exactly.
We'll have time to study it later. Let's keep going for now.
Okay, so last time we went through this room here, the shower room, and popped up in this hallway that connects all three numbered doors on the large hospital room of C deck. Just a much less roundabout than last time when we went through door 8 up here and took this long hallway into the laboratory. Junpei folded the map and stuffed it into his pocket. Back at the door, the four of them lined up in front of it. Santa stepped forward. He grabbed hold of the door, and then turned to look back at the rest of them, and inquired whether or not we should open it, no
Ready?
doubt.
I'm gonna...
They nodded. Santa nodded back and then threw the door open. All four of them leapt through.
What the?
You're shitting me.
It took only a moment for them to realize where they were.
We're back.
They had been there only a short time ago. It was the large hospital room, filled with countless beds. I really have a hard time understanding why they're so surprised. Like, I could kind of forgive it in the timeline where we went through the laboratory, because that's a relatively lengthy hallway, and I could see you getting a little bit turned around, but we just did a real short U-turn through the shower room right there. How they could be surprised that they ended up back here is beyond me. Lotus and Clover looked up as they entered. Ace was there as well, although he looked as though he had only just woken up.
Clover! Lotus! And Ace! I'm glad you're all okay.
Yeah, although I'm not sure they reciprocate that feeling, at least in my case. I haven't been looking...
Lotus, what are you...
I haven't been looking forward to this reunion because of exactly what Lotus is about to do. The moment they spotted Junpei, Lotus and Clover headed straight for him. As she neared him, Lotus drew back her hand and slapped him open-palmed across the face.
Round 1. Fight!
How could you do this to us?
Her face was furious. She grabbed Junpei by the collar and shook him violently. Clover didn't touch him, but the hate in her eyes was no less potent. It was Seven who stopped them.
Knock it off. We got bigger shit to worry about right now.
Thanks for having my back, big man. His deep voice echoed across the massive room. Lotus glared at Seven, but let Junpei go after one last vicious shake.
What?
Go have a look. I stuck the screwdriver in the door.
Oh, he's gonna send them to look at the shower room? We might want to give them a little more warning than that. Especially Clover, dude.
That door over there, the one without a number. As long as the screwdriver's there, it can't shut, so you can get in there. There's a shower room past there. Stuck a broom at the door there, too. Anyway, go take a look.
I mean, I guess seeing might be kind of necessary to believe something as horrible as this, but we should still give them a heads up.
Then you're saying we can go in there without passing through the numbered door?
Yeah, it's about the size of it.
Wait, what the hell is it?
You'll know when you see it.
Fine, let's go.
Lotus and Clover looked at one another for a moment, then nodded and stepped through the door. By then, Ace had made his way to them, moving with the stiff, shuffling steps of someone who has only just awoken from a lengthy slumber.
My goodness. I know I said I was sure you'd come back for me. I didn't think it would happen so soon, though.
Ace shook his head weakly.
Should I go as well?
Yeah.
The more the merrier, I guess. Seven nodded.
Very well.
Ace followed Lotus and Clover with his stiff, tired gait. The squeal of tortured metal made Junpei's teeth curl. Okay, I could never forget that just bizarre line. Now I know for sure we're at a point where we can go ahead and start skipping forward again. All this leads to is a conversation where Seven discusses how Snake must have met his end by being thrown through the numbered 3 door by the bare minimum 2 accomplices necessary to authenticate at the red. And Ace interjects to suggest that we shouldn't unnecessarily suspect each other of the murder, because it was probably Zero who was the actual perpetrator. Which, of course, implies that Zero is on the ship with them, a notion I actually happen to agree with, as you can see from my selection last time. But in the interest of completion, we're going to go ahead and have Junpei argue the point that maybe Zero isn't here with us, just to see how that goes. Junpei wasn't sure.
Something's still strange.
What was that?
Well, I'm just wondering about one thing.
And what's that?
How can you be so sure that Zero's on this ship?
Ace's eyebrows shot up. To be honest, the only reason I really think he's on the ship with us is because I think he's I still hold fast to the idea that he's the person who disabled the Reds on this floor when we first came here.
Really, Junpei? I confess I'm a little disappointed. Usually you're rather sharp.
I'm a little all over the place, to be honest, but thank you.
Isn't it obvious?
Wait, it is?
This ship.
Huh?
Zero said, "this ship," several times when he addressed us.
Now that's actually a pretty flimsy argument. I mean, whether Zero broadcasted that live or pre-recorded it, he was kind of role-playing the character of our host and captain. I don't think it's a stretch to think that he was in character enough to say this ship as if he were here, but it's certainly not actual physical evidence of anything.
If he weren't here, he wouldn't say "this ship," would he? He'd be saying something like, "that ship," or "the ship."
Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Ace probably tries to settle an argument by going after somebody's grammar. He's really picking apart details that don't amount to meaning anything right here. Ace's explanation made perfect sense. Junpei felt a little foolish he hadn't seen it himself. Junpei, you need to not be so easily persuaded. Still, he was left with a question, and it was one of no small importance.
If Zero's on the ship,
Where is he? Suddenly, everyone went quiet. The silence was cold and clammy, and Junpei could feel it crawling across his back and around his throat. Again, he heard the ghosting moaning noise, and moments later, a person who looked more ghost than human appeared. It was Clover. I thought it was going to be Snake's apparition. She looked at the floor as she spoke. Her voice was a cold monotone.
I think Zero is one of us.
I probably can start fast forwarding again, because now we're just treading over same old ground. Well, I could, but that didn't get me very far. So now I need to decide whether to argue if I think Zero is one of us or not. Last time I entertained the possibility because, well, to be honest, I don't really have any logical reason for thinking that that's the case. I just think it fits most with the idea that we're inside a story because it's the most interesting possibility, but that's a meta reason that I can't really justify. Either way, in this case, again, for completion's sake, we're going to have Junpei dismiss the idea as completely crazy.
that's crazy. Isn't this ship going to sink in a few hours? If Zero was here with us, he'd be putting himself in danger. Why the hell would he do something like that? There's no motive.
Yeah, that's kind of funny to hear him say that. That's the exact same argument Lotus shot Junpei down with when he suggested, or when he agreed with Clover in the past timeline that Zero was among our number. So hearing him argue the exact opposite now sounds kind of hypocritical. Well, not that he's contradicting anything he did in this timeline, but still. Clover looked up at Junpei, and her face fell.
You don't believe me.
Her eyes were so pitiful. I think she's just desperate to believe the murderer is one of us because it gives her a chance for vengeance. The moment Junpei met them, he felt his heart tighten. He didn't think what he said was wrong, but perhaps the way he'd said it had been. He'd been too insensitive. Clover had just lost her brother. His death would have been bad enough, but she'd also seen the blasted wreck of his body. Well, whose fault is that? We're the one who sent her in there with no forewarning. This is the ending where she should take us out with an axe. Junpei barely knew him, and the sight had been enough to make him sick. What Clover had felt, he couldn't begin to imagine. In the mental state she must have been in, it was understandable that she would look at those around her with suspicion. She felt everyone was against her. The least Junpei could have done was try to understand what she was feeling. He felt ashamed of what he'd said. Perhaps, he thought, I should apologize. But before that apology could begin...
Clover,
Clover, I understand what you're feeling. You don't feel that you can trust any of us.
Ace, Mr. Empathetic, has to swoop in every chance he can and play the peacemaker. But, you know what? After the suspicion dragging Lotus off to some unknown part of the ship cast on your character in the previous ending, I'm starting to wonder if this affable old man routine of yours isn't just a front. Ace had beaten Junpei to the punch. Yeah, you're stealing my thunder again, too. I don't appreciate that. Now you've done that with June and Clover. As he spoke to Clover, his face was calm and friendly.
But you have to understand, the more we distrust one another, the further we fall into our true foe's trap. Zero was the one who did those horrible things to your brother. Do you want to let yourself be manipulated by someone who would do such a horrible thing?
And that doesn't make him any less suspect. I mean, he's doing the exact same stuff Lotus did when we found Snake's body in the other timeline. Using the body as leverage to manipulate Clover into his way of thinking, in the hopes that we'll find out the truth about what happened to him. The more time we spend with this cast, the more everybody seems to have their little agenda, be it Clover's revenge for Snake's murder, Lotus's desperate attempt to get through the game as quickly as possible, or whatever the hell Ace may or may not be up to. Clover didn't answer. She didn't even look at Ace. The whole time, her eyes were on Junpei. He could feel Clover's eyes boring into him. They were the color of a deep winter lake. Junpei saw no suspicion in them, only sadness. Well, I'm sorry I upset her, but it's good that she doesn't seem suspicious of me in particular. Although she hasn't really had any time to mull it over yet. She certainly hasn't crunched the numbers and figured out that she suspects Santa and Seven or the like in this timeline yet. Then, in that horrible silence, for whom the bell tolls, there's that damn clock again. They heard a bell begin to ring. It was the clock at the central staircase, telling us it's 3 a.m. We have 3 hours left.
3 in the morning.
Yep. So, can I skip ahead now?
Then we need to move now.
Again, like 2 frames.
7. Clover. I know how you feel, but you do understand that right now it's important we trust one another, don't you?
7 and Clover remained silent. Their eyes were looking at something somewhere else, very far away.
We must go. We have very little time left.
Okay, I do remember this part, though. I think the next thing it says is Ace's words set their feet to moving. Yeah, so can I fast forward now? Yep.
Here we go.
Alright, and that brings us to the elevators. They stood in front of the elevators next to the stairs that led to the casino and the kitchen. Between the 2 elevators was a card reader with the Mercury symbol engraved on it. Ah, that's right. Since Junpei tricked everybody into opening door 3, that didn't leave us with enough folks to open doors 7 or 8, so in this timeline we only have the 1 keycard that was in the shower room. So this is the only place we can open up right now. Junpei stood in front of it with the Mercury keycard.
Oh, that's the...
Yeah, I found it in the shower room.
see. It's got the Mercury symbol.
He took a deep breath and slid the card through the reader. It made a small beep, and the light on the reader blinked to life.
Now we can go.
7 people, including Junpei, climbed onto the elevator.
Looks like there's only 2 floor buttons working.
C and bottom.
The rest were destroyed or did nothing when pushed.
Time to head down then.
Junpei hit the bottom button. The door closed. Slowly, they began to move downward. 7, man, could you make a little room up front there? You're kind of crushing all of us against the back wall. Sometime later, all 7 of them stepped off the elevator and onto the bottom deck. They stepped off and saw that the hallway to their right ended somewhere between 20 and 25 feet from them. The hallway in front of them was a dead end, but not a regular dead end.
This is a numbered door.
The kind of dead end you can pass through because there's a door in it. So again, that is to say not a dead end.
Yeah, it's door 2.
Seriously, that's like saying a street dead ends at a stoplight. Immediately, they began to discuss who would go through it.
So who should go through the door this time?
We don't need to be discussing who we're leaving behind this time, right?
Right. It's set up so we'll be able to meet up again once we get through the numbered doors.
How do we realize that? At least when we went through door number 1, we didn't obtain a map until after we'd cleared the puzzles. I mean, not that they're wrong in their assumption, it's just weird for us to not argue about it.
Then there's no need for arguments at this point.
I guess either way, we have to send somebody ahead to investigate. Our most prudent option would be to put a party ahead in door 2 and send some combination of people back to open either door 7 or 8 and investigate the laboratory or surgery room.
We should figure out who's going in first.
Very well. Would anyone like to volunteer?
This is the last set of doors, though, so I'm surprised they're not being more cautious of the notion that somebody might find the number 9 door. Oh,
I'll do
but
it.
then again, I guess whatever group opened door 2 wouldn't also have a digital
I'll
route
go
that
too.
could open door 9 if they did
And I
find it.
suppose I need to
So
go
that
too,
doesn't
then.
really matter, does it? I wouldn't know. I actually haven't crunched the numbers on this one ahead of time. Junpei followed suit, which meant Lotus was, by default, the 3rd member. Let's see, 8 plus 7 is 15, plus 5 is 20, is, yep, 2. It always puts it on screen. I don't know
All right.
why I bother
We're taking off.
doing the math myself.
Okay, please be careful.
Careful is my middle name. Junpei Careful Tenmyoji Esquire II.
Jesus. You 2 are acting like you're married, you know that?
No, if we were married, my last name would be Kurashiki.
Oh,
That's right, I took June's name. What of it? She likes it. June blushed. So did Junpei.
Don't be silly. Cut it out.
Perhaps in an attempt to hide his emotions, he quickly turned away to pull the lever on the red. That's how I run from my emotional problems too, Junpei, by diving into an escape room. The door opened. As they'd come to expect, there appeared to be a short hallway on the other side.
All right, let's go.
Lotus was the first through the door.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
7 was next, and Junpei brought up the rear.
Where the hell is it this time?
I don't see it!
There it is! It's right there!
Fortunately, it took them only moments to find the dead. It had been placed just inside the room, right next to the numbered door. They gathered around it and quickly scanned each of their bracelets.
It stopped.
Yeah, it stopped.
Junpei could feel his heart pounding against the inside of his ribs. Seven and Lotus were breathing hard and fast.
Man, I'll never get used to that.
I'm not sure it's something I'd want to get used to. We should finish this game before imminent death becomes a normal thing.
Damn right.
All right.
Junpei looked around again.
This hallway's pretty short, but it's got 5 doors. 3 on the left, and only 1 on the right.
Don't forget the last one at the end of the hall.
Doesn't look like we're getting through the plate that's over that one, though.
But it's got a metal plate over it, so I doubt we're gonna get anywhere that way.
Yep. After taking a look around the room himself, Seven spoke.
All right, let's get started. I think we'd probably better split up. You two okay with that?
Yes, no problem.
Yeah, there's 3 rooms and 3 of us. It seems to make sense.
Sure thing.
Then I'll take this first one.
Seven nodded to them and stepped into the room closest to him.
I'll try the one next to it.
I guess that leaves me to pick up door 3. At last, Junpei was left alone.
Well, I guess I'd better get started too.
He looked intently at the remaining 3 doors. Alright. I was expecting a boiler room or something connected to the functioning of the ship, but not a confinement room. So, in addition to being a Titanic-themed luxury liner and a hospital ship, this is also a private prison. Zero's really getting his money's worth out of this thing, I'll give him that. Most people's idea of the entrepreneurial spirit is to buy a box truck and rent that out and do odd jobs with that on Craigslist. He really took it a step further with this scheme. Alright, since Seven and Lotus decided to take the first 2 rooms there, let's go ahead and examine this 3rd door. The walls look really dirty in this place for what I can actually see of them. What's the deal with the lighting here? There's just this one beam of light. The rest of the place is too dark. I can't see anything. There's no way we can explore the rest of this room. Okay, so it sounds like I'm beating around here for no real reason, but let's take a look anyway. Well, that's something I can see. I don't know if it's glow-in-the-dark paint or what. What is this? 14 equals E? That's gotta be another hexadecimal reference then, right? It probably means there's a 14 that a 14 somewhere represents an E, but I don't know what 14 that would be. Well, we might not have found it yet, but that sounds a lot simpler than the previous puzzle we did involving hex, where we had to translate the word 0 using it. I can just barely make out the string for the toilet, but I can't get a hold of it. It looks like there's a typo there. Damn it. It kind of pisses me off knowing that I can see it, but I can't touch it. Yeah, he wasn't kidding about it being too dark to explore. We're not having much luck. This mirror seems really high. In fact, it's so high that it's kind of hard to see your reflection in it. This light's barely enough to see by. I feel like I'm gonna see a ghost here or something. Well, I don't know about an ordinary ghost, but we might see at least half of a Pepper's ghost. That's an optical illusion where you use mirrors to reflect a scene and you selectively illuminate it so little elements of your props like the string and whatnot are hidden. Although we don't have a 2-dimensional glass surface to view that illusion through, so it's not really a true Pepper's ghost we'd be creating. It'd just be a projection of something two-dimensional onto the wall. But that might explain why these mirrors are mounted so high that they're useless. If they're part of the puzzle, that would give them a reason for being like that. I can just barely see a mirror from the light coming through the ceiling. Sure would be nice if that mirror was a little lower down. It looks like it's the same height as the mirror on the right. I wonder if that means anything. Oh, there's a desk in the corner. Otherwise, it looks like we've pretty much explored this room to the best of our ability for now. But it looks like the door is jammed. God damn it, no matter how hard I pull on this damn thing, it won't budge. Guess I won't be opening this anytime soon. Doesn't look like it's got a keyhole, and there doesn't seem to be anything stopping it. How the hell am I supposed to open it? I guess we'll work our way up the hallway until we figure that out. How's it going in here, Lotus? I'm sure these accommodations are not to your liking. Seriously, these walls, I don't know if they're just decrepit and falling apart or they're smeared with crap or something. But even the crew quarters where Junpei woke up was nowhere near as shabby as this. Although I guess this does come with the benefit of a bathroom in suite, so that's something. Running water that doesn't involve a busted window is nice. Speaking of which, what's up with this sink? And particularly the painting on the mirror here on top of it. It looks like flowing water. I'm guessing a hint that we're supposed to turn the sink on. Somebody made some wavy blue lines on this mirror with blue paint. Is that a drawing of a blue scarf? No, maybe not. I'm almost sure it's meant to be running water. This drain is kind of a weird shape for a drain. You think they made it that shape for a reason, or just for fun? It gets the job done either way, doesn't matter. There's no knob on this faucet. There's no way we can get the water out of it like this. If we can find a knob, or something that'll work as one, then we should be able to get water to come out of this thing. I just bite down on it. Nah, that can't be good for your teeth, and this place is pretty grody. I don't know how sanitary that would be. But I'd say the fact that we have to go to all that trouble to get the sink working pretty much confirms that this is hinting that that's what we need to do, is turn the water on. Alright, we'll add that in the drawer to the list of things we haven't been able to figure out yet. And then we have some sort of pill... Oh, yeah, okay, it is a towel. The way it was placed, I almost thought it was a really thin pillow for the bed. But it looks to be a continuation of that hint on the mirror, because it has the same running water pattern, but this also has a pool of water. So maybe we're supposed to fill the sink? I'm not really sure yet. Well, it looks like a towel. I have to wonder if the design means anything, though. Maybe you could consider what the design might be. Perhaps that'll give us a hint? I'm sure we'll figure it out once we get that sink running. Alright, there's something written on this toilet seat too, but I don't think moon translates to hexadecimal. A moon? What a filthy, disgusting moon. Yeah, it's pretty filthy, but it's a precious hint. Let's remember it, alright? What about the toilet itself? Nope, can't look at that. I'm sure it's equally disgusting. This paper seems to be pretty old. Ew, how the hell can you touch that? It's horrible. It's just some old paper. That part's not that gross. Well, it's not like I've really got a choice, do I? realistically, unless Zero does this sort of thing more often than we think, there probably hasn't been anybody to leave germs on this place in a while. It's just hanging from the wall. We actually have enough light to be able to reach it in this room. Well, if we're pulling the string, then it must be a toilet that flushes. As opposed to... I guess there are toilets that don't flush, outhouses and the like, but... I don't think that really applies here. Did I already examine the bed? No, I examined the pillow, but I didn't look at the bed. That bed looks cold. Pretty sure you'd freeze to death in the winter. Yeah, that's a shabby-ass blanket, and I can't tell if it's filthy or if it has holes in it. No kidding. If I tried to sleep here, my skin would dry out in no time. Well, it's not like you're that young anymore. That shouldn't really matter. My, Junpei, aren't you lucky? It seems you will die before you have a chance to grow old and hideous. I'm sorry, you're right. Dry skin is a woman's worst enemy. I don't think that shabby pillow would do your skin much good either. You'd be starved and riddled with acne by the time you left this place. Let's see. Other than the desk and chair over here, that's about it. This looks like a chair for prisoners. It's rusty, but I don't think it's going to be a lot of help. Isn't that obvious? Look, I don't want to touch anything unless I have to. Lotus is not having this. She really doesn't want to be in this room, or does she really not want to be in this room that bad? Okay, what about the drawer here? Actually, it looks like the handle on this would be fit for the sink over on the other side of the room. Wonder if we'll have to unscrew that at some point. There's nothing in the drawer. Yeah. Something's not right, though. That handle on the drawer doesn't really fit, you know? It just looks messy. Yeah, that's what caught my eye. It doesn't really need to be a cross-section for you to use it. Why don't you take it out? But its shape would make some sense if you were meant to rotate it. If I had that on my desk drawer, I don't think I'd be able to help but fidget with it. Alright, center room drawer. So there's a mirror on the other side of this drawer. Interesting. What, like on the back plate of it? It's kind of an odd shape, and it looks like someone attached the handle with a screw after the fact. Oh, underneath it. Okay. Wow, that would have been easy for us to have not noticed, because you think to inspect the drawers, but you don't think to pull them out of the furniture. Okay, we must have to switch this with the drawers from the desks in the other rooms. But we couldn't open the desk in the first room I inspected, so for now we're gonna have to check in with 7 and see if we have any luck with this one. Okay, I'm guessing not. It appears to be screwed shut. This appears to be a really simple desk. Well, of course it's gonna be simple. I mean, it's probably like that so we don't try and use it as part of the puzzle, right? You probably use a desk to write letters to your family or something, but this is a boat. I'll bet the only thing they used this for was eating off of. Huh? What the hell? It's not opening. There's something up with this drawer. I don't trust it. You can see the screws driven right through the top of it. I don't know why I bothered inspecting it once we'd noticed that. Okay, and the mirror in this room has the second half of that image from the towel. The water pooling. So maybe we need to fill this sink up? The drain's stopped, so that might be the case. there's a little tile in the drain. Doesn't look like we're going to be able to pull it out of there. Might have to use our heads on this one. Alright, let's figure this thing out. Well, we're probably going to find a screwdriver to take that drawer handle apart. Maybe we can use that to pry up the tile. Huh. Looks like the water doesn't work. Doesn't matter how much 7 turns that thing, no water's coming out. I guess that shoots my theory about filling the sink out of the water, so to speak. Has the water been shut off from somewhere else? If so, maybe we can turn it back on. Man, this is a mess. It's not even a bed anymore. Can't say I'd want to sleep there. Yeah, the frame on that thing would eat through the mattress so bad that I don't think it'd be too different from being on the floor. And I'm guessing this toilet will keep the theme of writing on the lid going. Yep, this time with a sun. A symbol on a toilet lid, huh? Seems a little fishy to me. Yeah, definitely part of the puzzle. It's a sun symbol, but it doesn't look like the ones on the doors. Oh, like not one of the conventional planetary symbols we've been seeing on the keyholes. Hey, this handle's pretty loose. Loose? You think it'll come off if you pull on it? It fell off. Huh, look at this. That handle doesn't really fit on the string. Maybe it wasn't meant to be attached to it. Take a look at this handle. The inside of the hole's threaded, like you're supposed to screw something in there. We seen anything that might fit in there? Sounds like the handle for our screwdriver. So, we should probably procure the actual shaft. I seriously doubt I'm gonna need this for anything. No, don't need the cardboard. But the end of this looks suspicious. Well, this part is thinner than the rest. In fact, this doesn't really look like it's part of the rest of this thing. This rod feels loose. Maybe if I give it a couple of turns. Here we go. Yep, screwdriver shaft. Let's put those together. So if I just stick this metal rod into the handle. Voila. And with that, we can take the handle off of this drawer. If I use the screwdriver on the screw in the center of the handle, maybe I can get the knob. Alright. Hey. Did you break it, Junpei? Nah, we can put it back together if I'm wrong. No, dude. Seems kind of weird to have a handle on a wooden drawer like this. This handle. It looks like it could be for the handle for a faucet. But the faucet already has a handle. Maybe it goes somewhere else? Yeah, I'd say Lotus's room. Alright, that should be all we have to do in the inventory for now. Didn't mean to examine the screwdriver. Thank God it's the right kind of screwdriver for that screw. I think we would have been fine if it had been a flathead. Awesome, we can totally use this. Damn, this screwdriver looks like a soldering iron. You think it's some sort of industrial grade screwdriver? Actually, I was thinking the grip looks kind of lousy. It's too rounded. There's nothing to add traction to your fingers. I think this thing would be a pain in the ass to use. I have to say, though, taking the different handles here apart and the little toilet paper holder and fusing them or combining them together to make the screwdriver, this really has more traditional flash game escape room type vibes, just like the bathroom did. This whole story route has some pretty cool puzzles in it. Pretty straightforward, though, so far, but I could actually say that of most of the puzzles in this game. It isn't really until the sequel titles that they get, I wouldn't say difficult, but a little more involved than what's in 999. Okay, so that clears this room too. So we have the handle we can use for the faucet in Lotus's room, and... oh, you know what? No, that isn't everything in this room. We have to use the screwdriver to get this drawer open. I almost forgot about that. Sweet, got the screws off. Now we can open the drawer. Yeah, I was thinking, because we still have the mirror on the bottom of this drawer we took the handle off, so we must have to place that in one of the other desks. I almost forgot to, we can't open the one in the third room, so I almost forgot we needed to get this one unlocked so that we can swap the drawers. There's nothing in here. Well, maybe the drawer is what we need. That's a really weird leap in logic, but you're kinda right, actually. That's why I examined it. Alright, let's yank the thing out. Anything unique about this one? It's got like a plaque or something on the back of it. There's a bump on the back. I wonder what it's for. Maybe there's a hole somewhere, and these bumps line up with it and trigger a hidden switch or something. Hey, we've seen weirder stuff. Doesn't seem that far-fetched. Oh, you're probably right. We probably just switched this to the desk in Lotus's room. But let's take the drawer that we got from there and put it in here. I already took the drawer out of this desk. Oh, I thought I had the, yeah, the drawer without the handle should be the one that has the mirror on the bottom, right? Okay, I guess I'm wrong about that. Never mind. In that case, let's hop over to Lotus's room and see if Seven's guess about the other drawer was correct. Sounded like something falling. What was that? I heard it too. Let's open the drawer. Okay, a little tile dropped down like from the sink in the opposite room. Okay, it has a 14 on it, so it's connected to that, the 14 written on the toilet in the third room. So this tile equals E, I guess. All right. And we have to fix this sink. Now I can turn the water on. Junpei, what are you doing? It's pretty obvious, isn't it? I'm running the water. I can see that. I'm asking why you're just letting it run like that. Think about it, Lotus. This faucet didn't have a knob when we found it, right? What do you mean? Just watch. Anytime now. Hey, water's filling up. Doesn't that just mean the pipes are clogged? Whoops, let's turn it off for now. So, did anything change? The water stopped flowing. Thank you, Mr. Obvious. Junpei, I'm leaving this to you, alright? Man, this room really has Lotus in an even bitchier mood than usual. Alright, so... that leaves us really just with the mystery of what to do with this drawer. And I don't know how I didn't think of it until now, considering my reference to the Pepper's Ghost technique earlier, but it's probably to reflect this light onto those mirrors to cast some sort of image that I'm assuming is drawn on one of the two of them. Oh yeah, we can probably use this mirror to reflect the light. Now I just gotta figure out where to reflect the light. Maybe if I just go somewhere that's a little easier to shine it on. Okay. I can see a partition over there. It seems pretty pointless to bother examining it. Alright, so I need to find where to shine the light. So, onto these mirrors. When I shine light on the mirror in the back, there we go. 4 and 7 on the left and right respectively. So if I shine the light on this mirror, then I get to see some numbers. I can see, yeah, alright, that's just what I said. And if we shine the light on the mirror on the right, we get a sun and a moon. So the sun is equal to 4 and the moon is equal to 7. That should let us do a little bit more with the 2 other rooms. Other than that, the only thing we have to figure out is what to do with that E tile and how to get this drawer open. Nope, it's still shut. Okay, back to Lotus's room. So, yep, this is the one with the moon symbol, so let's flush it 7 times. They probably made it so that someone wouldn't trigger it by accident. If that's the case, I don't know, it's not exactly difficult to brute force this thing. It's not like there are any combinations to enter, you just have to pull the string a certain number of times. With 7, that's fairly unlikely, but with the number 4 in the other room, I could see activating that one by accident. Alright. Huh? Did you hear something? I heard a loud flushing noise. No, not that. Alright. I don't know what in here would have made that noise. Maybe it was the sound of the desk in the other room unlocking? A drawer that doesn't open. I wonder if this is part of a puzzle. No, that wasn't it. Okay, then let's activate the toilet in 7's room. The only thing you can manipulate in this room is that string. Chances are they made this puzzle so someone wouldn't trigger it by accident. I still disagree with that. I don't think flushing the toilet 4 times is that far-fetched in one of these puzzles. Especially with such a conspicuous lever for it. There it is again. It makes some kind of weird sound when I pull on that string. The same thing happened in the other room. That means... I don't know. Don't you think it's a little suspicious that the other room gave us a hint to figure out this one? I mean, not really. All of these rooms have been connected, especially by those water paintings and the desks. Well, but maybe I should double check that desk a second time. It could just have 2 activation mechanisms. You're right, the room next door is just like this one, so that leaves the dark room. Yeah, they seem to be reinforcing that notion, so let's double back real quick. There we go. 2 tiles this time. Well, this drawer opens easily enough, now. There's something in the desk. There are a bunch of weird lines on this tile thing. I don't get it. Maybe Seven or Lotus can help me out. You don't see it? The red lines are layered on top of everything else and they form the number 14. Oh, it sent me to the inventory twice, once for each tile. That was trippy. I thought I pressed something wrong. Okay, so... the only thing we haven't figured out is... that's right, though. Okay, the water pooled on this side, too. That's what I was confused by, because the sink filled up in the other room, but this is the room with the hint that said we needed to flood the sink. Okay, so the pipes are connected between the rooms, and the water flowing through push the tile out from the other side, instead of us having to pry it up from above. That gives us 4 of them. Junpei put the wet tile into his pocket. He was about to turn away when... there was a noise behind him.
What the?
He spun around to see Seven kneeling on the floor. His face was rigid and pale. Droplets of sweat covered his forehead.
Hey, what's going on? Are you okay, man?
You didn't touch that gross toilet seat, did you? I hope you didn't get the Rona.
You're sweating like crazy. Are you all right?
He was concerned. He'd never seen Seven like this before. Slowly, the other man lifted himself to his feet on shaky legs. Come on, you can't go fainting on us, big guy. That's June's... Come on, big guy, you can't go fainting on us. That's June's shtick.
Yeah, I'm fine. Just got a little dizzy, that's all.
Seasick, maybe? His face was pale and his breathing was heavy. Actually, I'm surprised we haven't addressed the movement of the ship at any point. Sweat was pouring off his face and staining his shirt.
That's definitely more than just a little dizzy. Are you sure? You don't look so good.
You rest up if you need to, Seven. We can't have you collapsing on us. You're gonna crush someone. Seven didn't answer. Half of his face was twisted, as if distorted by extreme pain, and his eyes were glazed. Finally, he spoke.
What am I doing here?
That's an odd question to ask. You didn't lose your memory a second time, did you? Because that'd be kind of lazy writing.
Huh?
His words made no sense.
What are you talking about? We opened the number 2 door and walked in here. Don't tell me you forgot.
No, that's not what I mean.
He shook his head several times, as if trying to clear something from it.
It ain't much, but I think some of my memories came back.
Oh, just the opposite of what I said then. You didn't forget more, you remembered something. Something bad, it seems like.
I think I've been here before.
Oh, okay, so you weren't confused about why you were in this room. You're confused about why you recognize this room. On a related note, why the fuck do you recognize this room? That is a huge-ass bombshell, dude.
Huh?
I said I've been in this room before.
You were here? When? Why?
Aoi. Like Nona.
Names? Suddenly, Seven was mumbling to himself. They were words Junpei didn't understand. Seven's hoarse voice trailed off, and Junpei couldn't make out what he'd said.
What the hell was that?
Seven's brow furrowed furiously, and he ground his teeth back and forth.
It's right there. I feel like I'm this close to remembering everything, but I just can't.
Well, keep trying, because if you've been through something like this before, it could give us a lot of insight into why we were abducted for this. Seven stopped, frustrated. He pulled off his hat and ran a hand through his hair. Then suddenly he looked up, his eyes wide.
That's right, an experiment. There was some kind of experiment going on this ship.
An experiment? What sort of experiment?
They were trying to control people. Or something like that.
Mind control? Through escape room puzzles? I don't see it.
What the hell are you talking about?
Junpei didn't know what to make of Seven's story. Instead, he simply stared as Seven continued.
Aoi, Light, and Nona. Those were their names. Well, some of them. The kids that were in the experiment. I think there were 4 or 5 more, but I don't remember all their names.
Well, that doesn't add up to 9 people just yet. So maybe it wasn't exactly the same as this?
Yeah, that's right. That's why I'm here.
Hold on, if you're right and that's why you're here, does that imply everybody else was abducted for the same reason? That we're connected to this weird experiment you're talking about? Seven began to mumble to himself and wander aimlessly around the room. Actually, yeah, didn't, earlier, when we very first met up at the staircase at the beginning of the game, Snake made a comment like, it looks like the gang's all here, or that's all 9 of us, or something, when Junpei finally met them all on the staircase. So I could see him and possibly Clover being connected to this experiment. We don't really have a lot of reason to suspect anybody else at the moment. He looked confused. So far as Junpei could tell, the man was simply rambling, and there were odd twitches in his movements.
Experiment. Cradle Pharmaceuticals.
Okay, wait. That's another thing. We've heard that name before from Santa when we were in the second class cabin. He said he'd stacked a few bills from the Cradle Pharmaceutical stock shooting up. Of course, just being a shareholder doesn't really make him connected to the company per se. So, I guess that doesn't... But that's some kind of connection to the experiments if he was invested in the company that conducted them. On the plus side, he's actually still alive. We can't interrogate Snake about any possible connection to any of what Seven's talking about, but if we can get a hold of Santa, maybe he knows something about what Cradle was up to.
Those kidnapped kids. Was I working that case?
Does that mean they're the ones who are running this Nonary game? Seven continued to mumble to himself about things that meant nothing to Junpei.
Huh?
Junpei didn't have any answers for him, of course. He couldn't understand what was happening to Seven. All he could do was wait. After a few minutes, Seven finally stopped.
Wait, under this bed.
He crouched down and looked under the bed. His face registered mild surprise, and he began to mumble to himself again.
The home's gone? No, maybe it was a different room. There's gotta be a ton of rooms on this boat that look just like this one.
A passageway of some sort? At last, Junpei couldn't contain himself any longer.
Hey, what exactly do you remember? Maybe you could stop talking like a crazy person and tell me what's going on here.
Seven stood up slowly.
Well, it's not like I really remember everything.
Well, share what you do know, because this is the biggest breakthrough I think we've had so far if you actually know something about this location.
I've only got bits and pieces, and they're scattered and don't make much sense.
That sounds like a recovered memory. Or at least like blacking out.
I don't care. Tell me the bits and pieces then.
Junpei could feel it. Whatever Seven had remembered, it was important. Very important.
Okay.
Seven drew a large, muscled hand down across his face. As he wiped the sweat from his brow, he spoke.
From what I can remember, I think I was a cop.
A cop?
Yeah. I was looking for that group of kids that got kidnapped 9 years ago. You remember that, right? It was all over the news.
Yeah, I was still in school.
Yeah, Junpei would have been like 16 at that time.
I don't remember all the details, but I do remember some of it.
Maybe a little older than that. I think he's like 23 now. Or no, that would make him younger. That doesn't matter.
I think it was a bunch of kids right around my age. They all just disappeared. Nobody knew why. It was all over TV and the newspapers every day.
Alright, seeing these faces blurred out has me even more suspicious that some of us are connected to the previous experiment that he's talking about, because, well, it's definitely an interesting choice by the newspaper otherwise to not run the kidnapped children's faces. I don't think that's going to do anybody any good in actually finding them. So what I'm thinking is that the meta reason for us not being able to see those is that they might look similar to some of the faces of the people aboard the ship with us.
So you're saying you were investigating it?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. I guess I found something. There was this medical company called Cradle Pharmaceuticals that had something to do with those kids. After I figured that out, I managed to get some information out of somebody who worked for them. I think it was...
Tonight, a ship is set to take the children to a large passenger liner docked offshore.
Yeah, that had to been it.
I'm surprised you got somebody to come forward with information on something as sketchy as human trafficking, especially of a group of children. If you were a cop, 7, you were apparently a pretty good one. That would explain your deductive skills so far in this game, though, and your use of police jargon in the bathroom puzzle, when you said things like 187 for the police code for a homicide, or abbreviated organized crime as OC. And look at you right here, straight up $100 million movie gangsta. Although the orange jumpsuit, maybe not a good choice for camouflage purposes. You kind of stick out there, buddy.
From the shadows, I searched the harbor until I found the ship he was talking about. There was a bunch of movement there. Men in black suits, many of them carrying large bags.
See, those guys get it. I mean, they're still really conspicuous, but they're harder to spot.
Bags. There was something about the way they moved as they were carried. No doubt about it. There were human beings in those bags. I moved before I realized it. I came out of hiding with my gun already in my hand. Don't move.
Oh, hell. Well, that might explain why he found somebody who was so forthcoming with this sensitive information if he was set up, and they knew he would be here.
I felt metal touch the back of my head.
I think your mole might have flipped on you, 7.
Drop the gun. Kept digging the cold metal thing into my skull. There was nothing I could do. I did what he said and laid my gun on the ground. Then suddenly, there was a sharp pain in my neck. A needle. A drug. That was my last thought. My face hit cold concrete. I was out like a light after that. I woke up on a hard floor. Damn it. Shit, my head hurts. Where am I?
Yeah, can't imagine the headache pistol whippings give you.
A small, shabby bed, a dirty sink. A toilet with no privacy.
That's not entirely true. That partition's generous compared to a lot of jails.
I'd seen it countless times as a cop. I'm in a cell, huh? Facing the toilet was a door set into the wall. I was still pretty woozy, but I made my way over to it. I pushed and pulled on it, but... it won't open. Not like I expected much else. Would be dumb enough to put me in a cell and leave it unlocked. Threw myself against the door a few times, but it wouldn't budge. I knew it. I gave up and made my way back to the bed, and sat down. I sat there for a very, very long time. Who knows how long. Then, I heard a faint voice.
There it is, over there. It's the 9 door, I'm guessing?
The voice was far away. I couldn't understand what it was saying. But I could hear one. It was pretty high, probably a little kid. Huh?
Hurry over here. Okay, coming.
No, it was several. I hear 5, or 6, maybe more. Where? Where are they coming from? I pressed my ear to the wall and tried to listen through it. No, that's not it.
What are we going to do now?
Left. It's coming from under the bed. I hauled on the metal frame and flipped the thing over. And there it was. The bed had hidden an air vent under it. The hole in the wall was covered by a metal grate.
Okay, that's what he was looking for earlier when he flipped up the bed. But how the hell are you going to fit in an air grate, 7? You must be a meter across the shoulders. Your ass is thick with 3 C's. It's not gonna happen.
I dropped flat on the floor and peered through the grate. I couldn't see shit, but I knew it in my gut. This was where those voices were coming from. Hold up. Why are there kids here? But then what my inside man told me popped into my head.
Tonight, a ship is set to take the children to a large passenger liner docked offshore.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Am I on that ship? It didn't matter. All I knew was I had to get to those kids. I checked out the metal grate. Could I fit? I stuck my fingers in and grabbed it. And then...
I'd prefer it didn't cut to the shot of the toilet while you made these strained grunting noises. It really calls the wrong image to mind.
Yeah! How do you like that, you son of a bitch?
But good work. You didn't shit your pants.
I finally got the damn thing off. Sweat was dripping down my face, so I wiped it off and crawled inside.
Boy, when you had this memory come back, it sure came back vividly, didn't it? Or maybe not, if you're gonna leave things off there. Junpei waited for 7 to resume his story. That's it, huh? That's fascinating, but for now all it suggests is that Zero didn't kidnap us at random and that we're all involved in this previous experiment in some way. But damn, I can't believe we've kept something like that under wraps for so long. You'd think it would have come up in more than just the little hints like that dialogue Snake mentioned on the staircase and the Santa's reference to Cradle Pharmaceuticals and all that. I guess we're definitely gonna have to talk to Santa about that. Confronting Snake about it won't do any good. That won't elicit any new information, just a lot of bad odors. The longer Junpei waited for 7 to speak, however, the clearer it became that 7 had no intention of doing so. He had gone silent, and simply stared off into the air, his eyes blank.
Hey, what happened after that?
He'd waited long enough, but 7 shook his head.
I don't remember what happens after that. I think I found some kind of door out of the duct. And I think I found some kids, too. Not good. Why can't I remember what happened next?
Yeah, it's like all the important stuff is still locked away.
Ah, man, what happened to the kids, Seven? Did you save them?
I don't know. I don't know if it was me. I've got this feeling. I think one of the kids died. A girl, I think.
Huh?
Deep in his heart, Junpei felt something very cold. Seven's head dropped, and Junpei saw on it a look of sadness the likes of which he had never seen on the man before. Yeah, that's a disheartening omen. Last thing we need is any more bodies piling up. The large man's eyes blinked rapidly, as if he were fighting back tears, and he swallowed hard. His sigh was like the melancholy setting of an old, abandoned building. He shook his head and spoke.
Anyway, just please don't ask me anymore, okay? I really don't remember anything else.
After that, Junpei could hardly try to force any answers out of the other man.
It's fine. Don't push yourself.
Going by what he said?
Junpei left Seven to pull himself together, and instead began thinking everything over.
The children who had been kidnapped 9 years before? Apparently a company called Cradle Pharmaceuticals had been behind it all. They'd taken the children to the same ship we're on now. They'd been brought here for an experiment. Seven said it had something to do with controlling human beings. The 16 children who had been kidnapped were the subjects. Seven had said 3 of their names were Aoi, Light, and Nona. I think that's all I got. Oh, and Seven is, or was at some point, a cop. I can't really use any of this information anyway. I didn't learn anything about the Nonary Game or Zero. Why were we brought to the same ship where they'd done those experiments 9 years ago?
That's really the million-dollar question right there. Is this like them checking up on the results of the previous experiment to see if whatever subliminal manipulations they did actually affected our long-term behavior? Or is this some sort of copycat case perpetrated on the original people from Cradle for revenge? And that's why guys like Santa are here, because people connected to operating the company need to be put through the same ringer? I don't know. Junpei's not wrong. We don't really have enough information to go on now, just a lot more suspicions.
And just what the heck is this about controlling human beings? That's nuts. Did they really conduct an experiment like that?
Before long, Junpei realized he had spent quite some time deep in
I
thought.
don't have time to just stand here thinking. I need to get moving.
Junpei shook his head quickly to clear it, and returned to his investigation, thoughts swirling in his mind. Okay. Well, I think with that detour out of the way, we've completed everything that we can in these 3 rooms, so the only thing left to do is examine this door out in the right-hand hallway. And that finally reveals where we run into the letter E. There are 4 of them in this emergence door here. 1 for each of our tiles. Okay. Well, it looks like we've investigated all the rooms. The only mystery left is that door. Alright, let's crack that mystery then. We've got 4 tiles, and there are a bunch of tiles that are the same size up on the wall there. So, if we replace 4 of the tiles on the wall with the ones we've got, that should open the door. Well, there's only one way to find out. Okay, nice and simple this time. Oh, I didn't even think I could rearrange the tiles up here. Just need to replace the 4 E's. Nice and simple. Hey, did you just hear something unlock? Does that mean we got it right? Yeah, we already know about hexadecimal. Okay, they're just summarizing the solution. Yes, let's go. You found it. Yeah, that one wasn't too difficult to find. That's another easy puzzle. Although, to balance out that fact, the puzzle that comes after this is probably the hardest one in this game, actually. But hey, it sounds like a decent change of pace from these easier puzzles we've been contending with. Could be a little bit of a challenge, but hey, whatever happens, happens.